Hello, fans of Thomas Carlyle. Since apparently I don't have chapter 6, I will start with chapter 6. Chapter 6, Aprons. This chapter treats satirically of clothes as aprons, chiefly for the benefit and defense of the community. 1. Notwithstanding the interest which attaches to certain historical references connected with aprons in this chapter, the chapter itself will, the editor fears, be found by the British reader to be one of the least satisfactory and conventional satire too obtrusively discernible in it. 2. In this chapter, all defenses against injury, particularly to society, are viewed as aprons, and references are made to different species of them worn in different classes of it in the public service found for this end. 3. Reference is in particular made to certain mysterious printed paper aprons worn by the Parisian cooks in the contemplated introduction of that kind of literature into England, not without a protest on the part of Teufelsdrockh, who, however, restrained himself out of regard to the benefits that may mean while accrue therefrom. To the benefits that may mean while accrue therefrom to society, and the benefits the introduction of said aprons may for the present confer on it. Sorry. On practice. I should have probably read this. I probably will put this out. I'll probably have to reread it.
Yeah, I'll go.
No, it's not you.
I mean, I know, I gotta go read some shit.
The contributors to the daily press are in the end referred to as the latest army of defense extemporized for behoof of society and rated as a new dynasty superseding the old royal and clerical dynasties, which, like aprons, formerly defended it, of which army of defense our philosopher is relieved from penning a description as happily as one exists in the English language is already, entitled Satan's Invisible World Displayed. 5. Hereupon the editor cuts short selections from this chapter in disgust and turns around upon the philosopher and charges him in referring to the above as a history of British journalism with perpetrating one of the most egregious blunders in the record of modern literature. Alright, I'm using a different book. So it looks like what I just read is the editor of this book, who is not the fake editor that wrote the book, is adding stuff. I don't think that's part. Yeah. Okay, I think I see. Alright, so this is the regular. One of the most unsatisfactory sections in the whole volume is that upon aprons. What is thought stout old Gow, the Persian blacksmith, whose apron now indeed hidden under jewels because raised in revolt, which proved successful, is still royal standard of that country. What though John Knox's daughter, who threatened sovereign majesty that she would catch her husband's head in her apron rather than he should lie and be a bishop? What though the Landgravine Elizabeth, with many other apron worthies, figure here, an idle wire-drawing spirit, and sometimes even a tone of levity, approaching to conventional satire, is too clearly discernible? What, for example, are we to make of such sentences as the following? Aprons are defenses against injury to cleanliness, to safety, to modesty, sometimes to roguery. From the thin slip of notched silk, as it were the emblem of beautiful ghosts of an apron, which some highest-bred housewife sitting in Nuremberg work-boxes and toy boxes is gracefully fastened on, to the thick tanned hide girt round him with thongs, wherein the builder builds, and at evening sticks his trowel, or to those jingling sheet aprons wherein your otherwise half-naked Vulcans hammer and smelt their smelt furnace. Is there not a range enough in this fashion and uses of this vestment? How much has been concealed? How much has been defended in aprons? Nay, rightly considered, what is your whole military and police establishment, charged at uncalculated millions, but a huge scarlet-colored, iron-fastened apron, wherein society works, uneasily enough, guarding itself from some soil and stealthy sparks, in this devil's smithy, Teufelsschmied, of a world. But of all aprons, the most puzzling to me hitherto has been the episcopal, or the cassock, wherein consists the usefulness of this apron. The overseer, episcopus of souls, I notice, has tucked in the corner of it as his day's work were done. What does he shadow forth thereby, etc., etc.? Or again, how has it often been the lot of our readers to read such stuff as we shall now quote? I consider those printed aprons worn by Parisian cooks as a new vent, though a slight one, for typography, therefore as an encouragement to modern literature in deserving approval, nor is it without satisfaction that I hear of a celebrated London firm having in view to introduce the same fashion with important extensions in England. Who are we on the spot to hear of no such thing, and indeed have reason to be thankful that hitherto there are other vests for literature, exuberant as it is. Teufelsdracht continues. If such supply of printed paper should rise so far as to choke up the highways and public thoroughfares, new means of necessity had been recourse to, and in a world existing by industry, we grudge to employ fire as a destroying element, and not as a creating one. However, heaven is omnipotent and will find us an outlet. In the meanwhile, it is not beautiful to see 5 million quintals of rags picked annually from the lay stall, and annually, after being macerated, hot-pressed, printed on, and sold, returned thither, filling so many hungry mouths by the way. Thus, this is the lay stall, especially with its rags or clothes rubbish, the grand electric battery and fountain of motion from which and to which the social activities, like vitreous and resinous electricities, circulate in larger or smaller circles through the mighty, billowy, storm-tossed chaos of life, which they keep alive. Such passages fill us who love the man and partly esteem him with very mixed feelings. Farther down we meet with this. The journalists are now the true kings of clergy. Henceforth the historians, unless they are fools, must not write of Bourbon dynasties and the Tudors and Habsburgs, but of stamped broadsheet dynasties and quite new successive names, according as this or the other able editor or a combination of able editors gains the world's ear. Of that British newspaper press, perhaps the most important of all, and wonderful enough in its secret constitution and procedure, a valuable descriptive history of all that history already exists in that language, which under the title of Satan's Invisible World Displayed, which, however, by search in all the Weizsäcker libraries, I have not yet succeeded in procuring. Wer noch nicht, I was Schreiben. Sorry, I'm not German. Thus does the good Homer not only nod, but snore. Thus does the Teufelsdracht, wandering in regions where he had little business, confound the old authentic Presbyterian witch-finder with the new spurious imaginary historian of the British journalistic, and stumble upon perhaps the most egregious blunder in modern literature. Chapter 6.